Brothers and sisters, I am Head Scribe Blackbird. I'm the head scribe of the United States Brotherhood of Steel, or USBOS, formerly known as the New Jersey Brotherhood of Steel, NJBOS. Our organization was formed in early 2022, inspired by the terminology and iconography of the Brotherhood of Steel from the Fallout franchise. Although our founder, the High Elder, took inspiration from Fallout's Brotherhood, we are not analogous. Our goals are totally different, and we have no affiliation with Bethesda or the Fallout franchise. And we're not role players. For more information on what we're really about, you can watch videos made by the High Elder, featuring a bit of editing from yours truly, explaining who we are and our purpose. Anyway, my job in the Brotherhood encompasses a lot of things. My primary duty, above all else, is the dissemination of information. Basically, that means I'm in charge of knowledge. And unlike Fallout's Brotherhood, ours isn't all about hoarding that info to ourselves. Really, that's why I made this channel. To spread information that'll be useful in helping other people prepare for and ultimately survive a nuclear apocalypse. No pressure, right? Okay, so let's talk about the most immediate thing you need to know. The first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes after a nuclear detonation are the make or break. This is where you figure out if you've even got a chance to survive. If you're in the immediate blast zone, you've probably already been vaporized. This advice isn't really for those unfortunate people. But let's say you're outside of the immediate death zone and you've escaped the immediate shockwave. If a bomb goes off, do not stare at it. Not just because you're on a ticking clock. Looking directly at an atomic detonation can cause flash blindness, or a combination of the radiation, heat, and light could cause permanent retinal damage. Suffice to say, don't look at it. Just drop whatever you're doing and run. Because you've got only about 10 minutes to find shelter before the radioactive fallout starts coming down. So, basically after a nuclear detonation, the air will be ionized for around 72 hours. That's 3 days if you're not too good at math. What that means is that you need to find shelter that'll keep you safe from the ionized atmosphere for 3 whole days. You're going to want to find somewhere underground. Subway tunnels, underground parking garages, or basements are ideal. But other buildings with concrete or brick walls can work too. Underground is best, but ground level is second best. Make sure to stay away from doors and windows, roll up clothes or towels to block any visible gaps, and then get to the safer center of the building. And hey, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've survived your first 10 minutes. But that's just the beginning. Remember, I said the atmosphere would be ionized for 72 hours, so that's only 4,310 minutes to go. This is the part of the narrative where you can see how early preparation can become essential. Having a pre-designated shelter location in mind, even if it's just your basement or the parking garage near your workplace, can cut down the panic of trying to find a suitable shelter. And if you've already prepared in advance, you'll already have a sufficient supply of food, water, and maybe even other resources, such as medicine or clean clothing. Having a plan gives you something immediate to focus on instead of simply panicking. You'll have plenty of time for that once you're sheltered in place. So what might you hypothetically need in a fallout shelter anyway? Well, you can probably already imagine most of the basics. Food, water, and medicine are the most immediate necessities. Even just a few cans of vegetables and bottles of water can suffice on a budget. First aid kits are often overlooked, but can be just as important, especially if you were injured in the process of getting to shelter. More serious preppers might also invest in water barrels, MRE rations, hand crank radios, or full-on generators. But don't feel like you have to go out and break the bank. What's most important is that you're considering these things at all in the first place. As Eisenhower once said, plans are worthless, but planning is everything. Another way to be prepared, no matter where you are, is by preparing a bug-out bag, which is also known as a 72-hour bag. You can probably guess why, right? There are plenty of resources online that have covered how to make a bug-out bag far more extensively than I could. I'll link to a few of them in the description below. By this point, most guides you'll find regarding nuclear emergency procedures will tell you to sit and wait for evacuation orders from local government officials. This might come in the form of emergency radio broadcasts or evacuation squadrons. Of course, That assumes there are still any local government officials alive and prioritizing constituents. For US.BOS members, this would be the point in which Brotherhood members establish contact with their local chapter if they haven't already. Each chapter has their own designated and prepared shelter routes and radio procedures as outlined in the Brotherhood Codex. This would be the point of full US.BOS activation. As for individuals not affiliated with the Brotherhood, if your local government is absent and you have remained in your shelter for over 72 hours, this is the time where you will have to begin looking forward to the long haul. Long-term survival. This is a far more complex conversation that will be broken down across several upcoming videos. For now, though, I will briefly touch on concerns regarding the transitional period following the 72-hour initial shelter. In the event of full-scale societal breakdown regarding law and order, self-defense is crucial. Others who have survived the 72-hour period may not have had sufficient supplies and may be desperate for yours. Be prepared to defend yourself and your supplies. Makeshift weapons can be easily procured through various tools you may already have laying around, like shovels, axes, rakes, brooms, and baseball bats. On the flip side, maybe you're the one who's run out of supplies. Food won't be an immediate concern, unless you have infants or small children with you. The average human body can survive about 30 days without food, and even so far as 3 months in the right conditions. But most people can't make it to 3 days without water, and unless you planned extensively, you might be running desperately low on water. Even past 72 hours, rainwater is still potentially contaminated, and any surface level water, such as lakes or ponds, would be contaminated by nuclear fallout. You may be able to find uncontaminated liquids within intact buildings, like supermarkets or gas stations, but keep in mind that any refrigeration methods may have failed with the power grid at a minimum of 3 days prior, and know that other survivors might have the same idea as you. Note that boiling water with radioactive contaminants will not remove them, nor is well water considered safe. Potassium iodide, while useful for helping to minimize radioactive damage to the thyroid gland, will not prevent other harmful effects. In short, do not drink water with radioactive contaminants, full stop. Canned fruits and vegetables can provide hydration, especially peaches, tomatoes, beans, and spinach. Canned soups can also provide nourishment for both food and water, but be mindful of sodium as this can increase dehydration. Okay, so as we begin to wind down for this video, I just want to rapid fire about a few misconceptions and some other points I didn't get into earlier. First off, when you first leave your shelter after the 72 hours, you should wear gloves, layers, and a face mask if possible. N95 is best, but makeshift masks made out of clothing will work well enough. This can be difficult if your water supply is tight, but try to make sure the clothing you use is wet. Wet fabric filters small particles better than dry fabric. Second, when returning to your shelter, remove your clothing, gloves, and shoes so that you don't bring radioactive contaminants into your shelter. Third, plan for mobility. The initial shock wave may have damaged the infrastructure of your shelter in ways you didn't think of. Be prepared to leave if necessary. Consider backup shelter locations in case your first one fails. Fourth, nuclear winter is heavily debated in the scientific community. Many believe it'd be very unlikely. Others are adamant it'd be unavoidable. Do your own research, draw your own conclusions, and plan your shelter accordingly. Lastly, I want to expand on what I said earlier about not looking at an atomic blast. Standard military procedure, also espoused for civilians by groups like the ICRP and CDC, say that you should turn away from the blast, close your eyes, drop down flat to the ground on your belly, and put your hands on your head. That'll be all for this video. If you have any questions or want me to go over something in greater detail, feel free to leave a comment below. I appreciate your time and thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're interested in learning more about nuclear preparation or the US.BOS, and I hope to see you next time. Oh, I never mentioned the timer, did I? You see, this timer has been going for most of this video now. It's exactly 10 minutes and represents the same length of time you'd have to get to shelter after a nuclear detonation. Not a lot of time at all, is it? Add Victoriam.